Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Norway once again, and we're going to revisit a brewery who you've seen me review a good couple of things from over the last little while, and it's just a case at the moment that we seem to be getting a lot of good beers in Sweden from this brewery at the moment. So once again we're going to head to Stavanger on the west coast of Norway, and we're having a taste of yet another beer from Lervig Aktiebryggeri. So this one is the Saskatoon Cheesecake Stout, coming in at 12% ABV. This one is an Imperial Stout on the sweeter side of things, so it should be really kind of interesting. It does have some of the flavour extracts and things like that in it from what I gather, so I'm wondering how close this is going to be to some of the things that you'll see from the likes of Omnipoyo. But I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. This one came through the small partiers in Stavanger on the 3rd of May 2019, so very much looking forward to this, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Lervig Aktiebryggeri before. No doubt there will be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Norwegian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Lervig Aktiebryggeri then. So Lervig Aktiebryggeri, as I mentioned to you before, are based in Stavanger in southwestern Norway, which is the main oil city over there. Of course, back in Scotland we had Aberdeen, of course, where I studied chemistry, and there was a lot of links between Stavanger and Aberdeen, of course. But the Lervig Aktiebryggeri was founded back in 2003 after the Tohu brewery was sold to Carlsberg, and then the production of the Tohu beers was moved to Oslo. But for a while the Lervig beers were actually produced at Brewery in Tromsø, which is in the very north of Norway. However, production was then moved to Hillevåg in Stavanger back in 2005, and this is where it's remained for the last 14 years. So the head brewer for Lervig is Mike Murphy, and he's been with the company since 2010, and prior to this the brewery were making mainly kind of light lager type beers, but then Mike moved them more towards making the American style craft beers, and this is where the brewery really have made their name. And Mike apparently played a huge role in the Danish craft beer revolution, if you like, and he was working with many different brewers there, such as Mikael and Jeppe Bjergso, Sean Hill, Andreas Kiesmeyer, among others. So he was really quite influential and worked with a lot of famous people in the Danish craft beer revolution, if you like. But he also worked for a period of time for Birra del Borgo in Italy, and he now owns about 5% of the company, and it probably means that he is going to stay there actually, if you like. But the main owner of the Lervig Aktiebryggeri is Christopher Stensrud, who owns 67% of the shares, and in total this brewery actually export around 20% of the total beer exports from Norway, which is pretty impressive actually when you consider the size of this company. You know, these guys are, I mean, compared to some craft breweries, they are a little bit larger, but you know, it is quite cool when you see a Norwegian brewery. Norway being a country of only, I think it's 4.5 million people. It's a little bit less than home, of course, in Scotland. But yeah, it's cool to see a brewery such as this getting their name out there as much as they do, because I'm sure I've seen some of these Lervig beers in Japan actually, and I'm pretty sure they're making their way down to Australia and New Zealand now. I'd be interested if they're making their way to South America, but I know definitely North America and all throughout Europe as well. So yeah, definitely one of the more recognisable Norwegian craft breweries, that's for sure with this one. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. They're very good when it comes to the IPA side of things. I'd say they're particularly strong when it comes to Imperial Stouts as well, and they do seem to stick to those two different styles, or at least that's what I've seen. There probably is a whole kind of variety of things. I'm sure I have seen a couple of sour beers from them in recent times, but it would be cool to see them try some of the you know, the traditional German beers or some Belgian type beers at some point as well. But yeah, another interesting brewery, this one, and if you want to try some Norwegian beers, you can't really go wrong with Lervig. They've always got some really interesting stuff there. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. This is a pretty prolific brewery, so that's probably a good place to keep up to date with all the different beers and things like that that are coming out of Lervig. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. As I say, check out all those links in the description below. So this one is a 12% Imperial Stout. It's hot with Hallertau Blanc from Germany. It's a really lovely kind of white grapey quality. It's almost akin to the European equivalent of Nelson Sauvin, actually, very famous hop from New Zealand. But it's got a malt base of Pilsner, caramel and chocolate malts, and there's oats, lactose and Saskatoon berry and cheesecake extracts added to this beer as well. So like I say, I do suspect this one might be a little bit similar to some of the things that you would find from Omnipollo in Stockholm in Sweden. But yeah, it was also apparently brewed as a collaboration with a guy called Dave, who's from Saskatoon, or Saskatchewan county rather. I'm not sure, I just tried to Google that and find out exactly who it was, but you know, there was very little information actually available, even on Lervig's own website. So yeah, but yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer and see how we get on. So yeah, you can see that looks like a hell of a bad sunburn that this person's had there. I'm not sure exactly what's going on in the artwork here, but then again, when it comes to craft beer, you do find some very random and questionable artwork in there. But yeah, very nice once again. You can see there is the Lervig Aktiebryggeri symbol there. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. 12% Imperial Sweet Stout, I guess we could say. So yeah, oh, you can smell some of the berries on that as soon as you open it up. But yeah, as you can see and as you would expect from this guy, then we'll just get the last little bit of it out. As you can see and as you would expect, this one has poured a dark ebony rosewood colour. Those berries are really kind of strong on this. The cheesecake is really popping out of it as well. You can see there was about a half finger or a third finger of a frothy kind of beige tan head there, but that's just fading away to be a very thin, just foamy layer around the edge now. But yeah, as you can see, if I hold this beer up to the light, it does have somewhat of a kind of Coca-Cola edge to it, but pretty much it is a dark kind of ebony rosewood colour, this one, you know. But yeah, a little bit, if I hold just above like this, a little bit of a kind of Coca-Cola edge to it, but you know, overall it does look pretty nice. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of the head there. But you know, overall, nothing particularly surprising about the appearance of this beer when you consider it's an Imperial Stout, and yeah, it looks pretty nice. Yeah, so let's take a closer look at that aroma and see how we go on. But I can smell, even from this distance away, I've got the beer about 50 centimetres away from me or something, you really can smell those berry extracts out of this one, and also the cheesecake as well, but mainly the juicy kind of berry notes in there. But let's take a closer look at this aroma and just see how we get on. Ooh. When you go into it a bit closer, actually, yeah, when you go into it a little bit more closely, it actually comes across, it's blueberries. I think that's blueberries. I always loved blueberry juice, and you know, actually one of the ways that I trained my palate a little bit when I was, you know, trying to get into beer a little bit more, was just trying different fruit juices and really getting used to the different flavours from different fruits. And blueberry juice was one that I found that I absolutely loved. Lychee juice was another one too. But yeah, this beer to me smells like straight up blueberries. It smells like a kind of blueberry cheesecake. I want to say there's a little touch of kind of red berry or blackberry in there as well. It really just smells like a whole variety of different coloured berries to me. So I want to say blackberries, blackcurrants, but mainly blueberries. There's just something in my head that's making me say blueberries. Yeah. So really a lot of berries coming out of this one. You can smell the lactosey notes from this one and the cheesecakey sort of quality. It almost does have just a little bit of that kind of subtle like crusty pie type quality in there, and the creamy sort of stuff that you get on the cheesecake. I have to admit, I'm not a great fan of cheesecake, right enough. I don't know why, I've just never really taken to it that much, but I have to say this beer maybe makes me need to reconsider that. I was never a big cake person or biscuit person, to be honest. But yeah, the fruity side of that beer is really nice. I could sit and smell this all day, but of course that'll take a very long time on the video. But yeah, blackberries, blueberries mainly. There's a little bit of tartness to this one as well. yeah, there's a little bit of tart sharpness, and maybe there's a touch of raspberry or something like that as well. There's a whole host of different berry aromas going on in there, to be honest. But yeah, underneath that you can smell a little bit of a sweet chocolate. There's definitely a sort of brown sugary presence in there as well. You can smell a little bit of the grassiness from the hops too. There's not too much in the way of hoppiness, it's the sweeter extracty type flavour, or it's the extract type aromas that are really coming out of this one and dominating the aroma. The chocolate is quite subtle. I'd say it's more of a milky chocolate, but I'm guessing that perhaps it's the lactose in there that's giving that impression. Yeah, I'm guessing that it's the lactosey qualities that are giving you the sort of more milky chocolate impression. Definitely some brown sugary notes in there. A little bit of a hoppy quality as well. As I say, a little bit of earthiness, a little bit of grassiness in there too. You can smell a little bit of the green grapey notes, the white grapey notes from the Hallertau Blanc right enough. But that's a really interesting aroma, this one. It's definitely one of the more juicy, berryish Imperial Stouts that I've come across actually. I think in all the Imperial Stouts that I've tried, and granted Omnipollo can give you some really weird aromas, or really unusually nice aromas, I guess you could say, when it comes to Imperial Stouts. But that aroma is one of the most unique ones that I've come across in the 6 years of the channel. So if you try this beer, take a little bit of time and just enjoy that aroma. I'm a bit of a sucker for berry aromas right enough. I really love the flavour of different berries. But yeah, this one is a beer that you definitely want to spend a little bit of time enjoying the aroma of. And as I always say, that's half the experience when it comes to craft beer and sakes and whiskies and stuff like that. The aroma can give you so much for a beer. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and just see how we got on. This one is the Saskatoon Cheesecake from Lervig Aktiebryggeri in Lervig, Stavanger, Norway. Let's get stuck in. Slange skål. That's nice. It's not quite what I was expecting actually. It's more, I mean, I was expecting this one to be a really sweet Imperial Stout. But it does actually have, this is where you kind of draw the line between the sort of, I guess it's like I would always call it the Reinheitsgebot brewing, or the purist brewing, and the kind of extract brewing, the sort of things that Omnipollo do. This one actually leans more towards the sort of the purist brewing, if you like. It is more of a kind of straight up Imperial Stout than I was expecting it to be, if that makes sense. It's definitely got more of a kind of regular backbone to it, and the extract flavours are more of subtleties rather than being the main focus of the flavour, if that makes sense. And I think for me, that's a good way to do it. You do want, you know, to have a bit of that original beer style in there, and you want these other things to be a little bit more subtle, if you like. So, you know, thumbs up to Lervig for taking that approach to this one, actually. Yeah. So, let's try and just break down the flavour of this beer a little bit then. I do like how this one's going together. This is actually quite a complex one. This is all about how the flavours kind of merge together. It's not overly punchy in any one regard, although I will say that the berry side of things really does start to shine the further you go into the aftertaste with this one. But yeah, straight away you can feel a little bit of the kind of roasty black malts in there. They form the sort of linchpin of the beer. On top of that, you can feel that the chocolatey side of things is just smoothing it out, and it has a really good balance actually between a high cocoa chocolate, you know, an 80-90% cocoa chocolate, and also the more milky chocolate aromas. The lactosey flavours are coming out towards the front of the tongue on this one, and that's given the impression of a more milky chocolate towards the front of the palate, but then the roasty black malts are coming out a little bit further towards the back of the palate, and that's giving you the impression of a slightly more high cocoa chocolate in there. On the brown sugar side of things then, yeah, in the beginning, I think the brown sugars are coming out at the start of the flavour a little bit more. You will notice that. in the middle of your palate, in the very centre of your palate, that's where the sort of caramelly malts are coming out of this one, and it's quite a sweet caramel. It almost has a little bit of a kind of caramel wafery, it's like a sort of caramel wafer biscuit type quality to it. It's quite a sweet caramel, this one, not toasted or anything. To me, a very sweet caramel. And in fairness, that does linger into the aftertaste as well, to be honest with you, and you will find that the flavour in the centre of your palate does get a little bit darker the further that you go into the flavour of this beer, actually, particularly in the back corners of the palate, just not quite on the very edge of your tongue, but if you go in a little bit from the side of your palate, you will find, I think, that the flavours of the chocolate just get a little bit darker in this one, which is quite nice. There's a whole host of things going on in this one. This one's definitely got a good level of complexity to it, so be aware of that when you're going to try this one. But I really like how this is going together. The berry aspects of this one, for me, are the most interesting and unusual. But as I've said, I'm a sucker for these berries. But yeah, just try and take in as much as you can from this beer. It's one of the more complex ones I've had recently. Yeah, so for me, the next thing to look at with this beer would definitely be the sort of, it has a sort of pie, crusty kind of thing. There is a cakey element to this beer, but it tastes a little bit like a cake you've just left in the oven that little bit too long, to be honest with you. The thing that it's making me think of, actually, is if you in Sweden, there's a chocolate cake called kladdkaka, and it's when you eat the very edge of the kladdkaka that's kind of stuck to the pan, the sort of, it has this flavour infused throughout it that it's just like, it's like the very edge of a cake that's just kind of crusted onto the pan. You can feel that just infused throughout the whole middle of your palate, and it's kind of blending in a little bit with the black malts in there, which is kind of interesting. I'm noticing as well, there is a little bit of creaminess to this beer, which I'm suspecting comes from the oats, and you can feel that if you just go in from the very edge of your tongue, you can feel there is this sort of slightly creamy oaty flavour in there. But as I say, the lactose comes out towards the front of the palate, and you can feel a good bit of creaminess from the oats in there as well, which is really nice. The hoppy side of this beer is pretty simple. I mean, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of a darker earthiness there. As you come further forward on this one, you can feel that smooths out. You'd get a little touch of floral quality there, but quite minimal at the front corners of the palate, then a lighter grassy note around the front edge of the tongue. For me, the berry aromas in this one are very, very nice as well, or the berry flavours, pardon me. You can pick up a little bit of the green grapey note from the Hallertau Blanc. I'm actually a little bit surprised that they maybe didn't use Williamette in this one as well. Hallertau Blanc and Williamette might have been a very interesting hop combination for this one, because Williamette, of course, will give you these really interesting blackberry, blackcurrant type flavours. I need to try that in an IPA at some point. It's a really interesting hop, that one. But yeah, you can feel a little bit of the green grapey flavours. I always say the fruity side of the beer, you always get that behind the very front curve of your palate. You get this little oily bubble where the fruity esters start to come out of the beer, and you can just feel this sort of green grapey thing there behind the front of your palate. And the extract fruits that are coming out of this one are really interesting too. Whenever you add fruit to a beer, of course, what it does is it comes out around the front edge of your palate, the kind of curved edge, and it suppresses a little bit of the green side of the hops. But the fruit extracts of this flavour, it's interesting because they're coming out a little bit in the middle of the palate, and they're kind of blending in with that green grapey flavour that I'm talking about from the Hallertau Blanc. So you've got this green grapey thing, but you've also got the blueberries sitting in there. It definitely has a blackcurranty flavour. The aroma to me really leans towards blueberries, but the actual flavour, it does have an element of blueberries which is almost right on the tip of the tongue, but to me it comes across in the flavour as being a little bit more blackberryish or blackcurranty. I don't think there's a real raspberry presence to this one. I was picking raspberries up a little bit in the aroma. There was almost a little bit of a tartness in the aroma, but I don't think that's coming out in the flavour so much. Yeah, it's more of a blackcurranty, blueberry type flavour, this one, in terms of the fruity side of things, and they're coming out as I say, blueberries almost just on the very tip of the tongue, and then the blackberries and black currants, if you like, are just a little bit further behind that, and the green grapes are just forming the base of that sort of fruity side of the beer too. But this beer really is very nice how everything goes together in this one. And the further you go into the aftertaste, you can feel the malt base just almost darkening up a little bit. You can feel some of the creaminess. It's almost like the sort of creamy part of the cheesecake in there. I don't eat cheesecake that much. Maybe I'm not the best one to describe this beer to you, but you can really taste, the further you go into the aftertaste, that sort of creamy part of the cheesecake in there, and some of the crusty notes come out a little bit too. So this is a really interesting beer. This is definitely one of the more complex stouts that I've had in a little while, and I do like this approach that they've taken. They've made this more of a kind of straight up Imperial stout, a more sort of Reinheitsgebot brewed Imperial stout, if that makes sense, and they've just used the flavour essences to add things kind of subtly to it rather than blasting the whole beer with that, if you like. I think they've managed to do this one. They've managed to balance this out really well, so it gets a big thumbs up from me in that regard. I do like the bite, the Imperial stouts that you get from Omnipollo, but yeah, sometimes the flavour extracts that they add really just overpower everything else. But that said, finding that balance between the more natural flavours of the beer and the things you add, that's another art in itself. It's another sort of style of brewing, if you like. So yeah, kudos to them for having a go at something different, but this is certainly a little bit different. The main stout that I had from these guys before was the Conrad stout. That, I guess, is their kind of purest stout, if you like. But yeah, to me this one, it's really nice, and as I say, this is a brewery that seems to be very good at whatever they try, so I would like to see them try a few different styles, like a Doppelbock and a Dunkel or a Quad or something like that. It'd be really interesting to see how they try, how they would do with some of these German and Belgian traditional beer styles, actually. But yeah, have a go at this beer for yourself and see what you think. If you're a big fan of berries like I am, you will enjoy this one. If you like sweet Imperial stouts, you'll also enjoy this as well. It's quite nice. If you like the Omnipollo beers, you will enjoy this one, albeit this is a bit more of a kind of straight up purist Imperial stout. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this is definitely a mid-bodied beer. Actually, no, sorry, telling you lies. More of a full-bodied beer than a mid-bodied beer. Carbonation is very, very smooth. Oily mouthfeel, this one. A little bit of hoppy bitterness. I think you're talking around the kind of 50 IBU mark in this one. A little bit from the malts, but mainly from the hops, that bit of earthiness in the back corners of the palate. The malt base has a really good balance. It does have a darker edge to it, but mainly it's quite a sweet kind of thing. But that's coming from the adjuncts, I think, the lactose and the oats, giving the feel a little bit of creaminess, but you've also got this lovely juicy fruity quality to it, and that's the highlight of the beer for me. The way the berry flavours come out in this one, particularly in the aftertaste, that's where this one really kind of shines through. I can't really tell you for definite if this one tastes exactly like a Saskatoon cheesecake. I'm guessing that it does. I'm not Canadian, so I really don't know what a Saskatoon cheesecake would taste exactly like, but what I can tell you is that this is a pretty damn nice beer, and it does taste like some of the cheesecakes that I've had. So yeah, the berry flavours in this, for me, really, that fills a corner, but I'm a little bit biased in that regard because I love berries. But just have a go at this beer for yourself and see what you think. You won't be disappointed, particularly if you like the Omnipollo beers. But let's leave it at that. I could sit and talk about this beer all day, to be honest with you. I really have enjoyed this one. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Lervig Aktiebryggeri as well, and we will definitely return to these guys in the near future. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very, very soon. This one's the Saskatoon Cheesecake Stout from Lervig Aktiebryggeri in Stavanger in southwestern Norway. Until the next time, Slange just now, and I'll catch you guys soon. Slange, skål.